A number of times in my pre-retirement training sessions, it has gotten emotional, and I've encountered a couple of people several times shed tears in class and confess that they were actually not prepared for retirement. Because mostly what many companies would do is to wait until their employees are actually edging towards retirement. Sometimes I'm invited when they've already been given the letters, and so the letters have already shocked them, and so the employer, as a response to the shock, they would invite me to come and try to prepare these guys for retirement. And so you begin to realize that that is sort of an ICU situation, because this guy has been working for decades and no one has ever reminded him that retirement is real and it will come. All right. Of course, I understand that some of you might be thinking, this guy did not know that one day he will retire. Now, retirement is a reality that is not easy to internalize. One of the things that I usually take people through is the conversation that I call the job cycle, to just help us understand what happens in the job cycle. And the job cycle is a 3-stage cycle that I developed to just give us a picture of the realities that are expected in the world of a working person. And that job cycle has a stage that I call the job hunting stage. It has its own dynamics. Then there is a stage after you've gotten the job, the stage of job maintenance. There are some things that you need to do for you to maintain your job. And that is why probably some of the people you are employed with may have dropped through the cracks along the way, and they were not able to get to retirement for whatever reason. And then the third stage, which is most important in pre-retirement conversations, is a stage that I call the job exit stage. The job exit stage. It's a mandatory stage. At some point, if you are ever employed, a day will come when you will exit. This stage is described variously by different people. For some people, it's a stressful stage. For some people, it's some reprieve. For some people, it's a moment of reality, okay? It's a time to harvest from what you've been planting throughout your working year. So it's a moment of facing some reality. Now, sadly, this reality may not be very pleasant for many people. And that's why when the day comes, because initially when many people get employed, retirement looks to be very far away. And sadly, many people keep postponing certain things that they need to be doing. They keep procrastinating about certain decisions in life because something tells them that 60 years is very far away from here. And so when 60 years begins to approach, that's when many people begin to open their eyes and they're wondering, how come 60 years came so fast? And even in cases where your payslip was indicating when you will retire, it is not a shock to me that when that day will appear, you might as well find yourself shocked, especially if you were not prepared in various ways. If you are not prepared about how you will handle your health aspect of life, how you will handle your relationship aspect of life, how you will handle your career aspect of life. Because a 60-year-old is still active. Their brain has not died. They're still thinking. They're still energetic. They can do a few things here and there. All right? And so it usually becomes very emotional when people will be saying things like, I know I'm supposed to be retiring in the next couple of months, in the next 1 year or 2 years, but I don't even have a grass-thatched house to call my own. I don't even have a plan in place on how I'll be able to handle my health. I don't have a plan in place on how I'll be able to handle my social life. I don't have friends where I want to go and settle. Nobody knows about me because I never was involved in the affairs of the place where I am going. And so I don't even know how I'll fit in society. Let me say something to the employers, okay? Much as retirement may appear to be very obvious, right? Everyone knows that at some point retirement will be needed, will happen, will come, but it is never too obvious. As a caring employer, I always tell employers that much as it helps to have us do this conversation before these guys are released to the world, so to speak, but it does a lot of good if these conversations can begin from as early as possible, because people begin to prepare for their retirement immediately they are employed, okay? And so when I come into your organization to share my my flaws, my failures when I was newly employed. It will help someone who is newly employed to begin to structure their lives a bit earlier. Okay, there are some changes, some things that can be done when you still have some time to the date of retirement than when you are facing retirement. Because most times when we have this conversation, just when retirement is smelling, the best then we can do is to just prepare these guys psychologically and awaken their understanding of the realities of retirement, and then prepare them financially, open their horizon in the financial world. What are some of the options that they will find useful to help them remain financially afloat, and just some of those things. But in terms of preparation, many of them regret that they are hearing some of the things we will be talking about for the first time ever since they got employed. Some of them say they wish they had those things when they were still young. So as a caring employer, please begin to have these conversations with your employees or for your employees from as early as possible. Then across the employment duration, we can be having review sessions. You can be arranging for review sessions for them to just keep checking to see whether their plans for retirement are in check. But for you as an employee, your employer may not have the opportunity to be reminding you or to organize for you pre-retirement sessions. Let me use this opportunity to remind you that as long as you've been employed, a day will come when you will need to exit your place of work, when you will need to retire. And after retirement, a lot of the things that will be happening in your life are feeding on what you did during your active years. And so it's important that then you begin to realize from as early as now that every decision you're making now, every choice you're making now will determine, will influence to a big extent how your life post-retirement will look like. Just remember that. Just remember that. You can do better.